Here's something most people don't realize. 5 individuals you've probably never heard of hold the power to grant or deny Donald Trump one of his most coveted prizes. And the decision they're about to make could spark international controversy. Every year, a select group of 5 Norwegians serving on the Nobel Committee faces the monumental task of choosing who deserves the world's most prestigious peace award. These committee members, handpicked by Norway's parliament, carry the responsibility of honoring Alfred Nobel's original vision, recognizing those who have made extraordinary contributions to fostering brotherhood among nations, reducing military forces, or advancing peace initiatives worldwide. But here's where it gets controversial. This year, U.S. President Donald Trump has made no secret of his belief that he deserves the prize. Since reclaiming the presidency in January, Trump has boldly declared that he's personally brought an end to 8 global conflicts. He's gone so far as to say it would constitute a big insult to America itself if the committee passes him over. So who exactly are these 5 decision makers? What drives their choices? And could any of them actually support giving Trump the Nobel Peace Prize? Let's dive deep into the backgrounds, political leanings, and past controversies surrounding each member. Meet the 5 judges who will decide Trump's fate. The Nobel Committee's origins trace back to 1897, when Norway's Storting, Here's an interesting detail most people miss. While members must reflect the political diversity of Norway's parliament, they cannot simultaneously serve as active parliamentarians. The committee operates with a self-selected chair and deputy chair, while the director of the Norwegian Nobel Institute acts as secretary. The announcement of this year's winner is scheduled for Friday at 11 a.m. Oslo time, 09 GMT, at the Norwegian Nobel Institute. Nominations closed back on January 31st, and the entire selection process remains wrapped in strict confidentiality. Let's examine each committee member individually. Jørgen Watne Friednes, the young idealist leading the charge. Friednes currently chairs the Nobel Committee, and at just 41 years old, he's the youngest person ever to hold this position. His appointment came in 2021, and his term extends through 2026. His professional background centers entirely on human rights advocacy. Friednes previously led PEN Norway, an organization dedicated to protecting freedom of expression for writers and journalists. He's also contributed his expertise to Médecins Sans Frontières, commonly known as Doctors Without Borders, or MSF, and maintains membership in the Norwegian Helsinki Committee, another human rights-focused NGO. While Friednes officially maintains a nonpartisan stance, observers note his sympathies align with Norway's ruling Labour Party. This connection became particularly evident through his work managing a memorial honoring the 69 Labour Party youth activists murdered during the horrific 2011 Utøya massacre, perpetrated by a Norwegian far-right extremist. Friednes has dedicated significant effort to the island's reconstruction and healing process since that tragedy. Asle Toje, the conservative voice. At 51, Toje serves as the committee's vice chair. He joined in 2018 and secured reappointment for another term spanning 2024 to 2029. Politically, Toje leans conservative. Before joining the committee, he worked as research director at the Norwegian Nobel Institute itself. He's also authored academic works, including a book titled The European Union as a Small Power After the Post-Cold War, which examines Europe's shifting geopolitical role. And this is the part most people miss. Toje actually attended Trump's presidential inauguration earlier this year and described it enthusiastically as a great party. He's publicly argued that Western liberals should adopt a more nuanced perspective on Trump and the MAGA movement. Does this mean he'd vote for Trump? That remains unclear, but it certainly raises eyebrows. Anne Enger, the experienced politician. Enger, now 75, has served on the committee since 2018, with her current term running from 2021 to 2026. She began her career in nursing education before transitioning into politics with Norway's Centre Party. Her political resume is impressive. She served as chief of the Ministry of Culture and deputy prime minister between 1997 and 1999. Briefly acted as prime minister in 1998 and held a short stint as acting chief of the Ministry of Petroleum and Energy in 1999. Since 2004, she served as county governor of Østfold. Enger has also led the secretariat of the People's Movement Against Free Abortion in Norway, revealing her socially conservative positions on certain issues. Kristin Clemet, the economic mind, Clemet, 68, joined the committee in 2021 for a term lasting until 2026. She represents Høyre, Norway's conservative party, and brings an economist's perspective to the committee's deliberations. She twice advised former Conservative Prime Minister Kari Willik and served as Norway's Minister of Education from 2001 to 2005. Clemet has expressed deep skepticism about Trump. In May, she wrote that after just over 100 days in office, Trump was well underway in dismantling American democracy and doing everything he can to tear down the liberal and rules-based world order. That's hardly the language of someone inclined to award him a Peace Prize. Gry Larsen, the humanitarian advocate. Larsen, 49, is the committee's newest member, appointed for the 2024 to 2029 period. She previously served as a Labour State Secretary in the Foreign Ministry and led Care Norway, a humanitarian organization championing global women's rights. Larsen has openly criticized Trump's dramatic cuts to foreign aid spending and his rhetoric regarding women and human rights. How have these judges voted previously? The Nobel Committee operates under extraordinarily strict confidentiality rules. They receive nominations from government officials worldwide, members of the International Court of Justice in The Hague, and university professors specializing in history, social sciences, law, philosophy, theology, and religion. Nominations close at the end of January. The committee creates a shortlist in March, and the winner is announced in October. Individual voting records remain permanently sealed. We discuss, we argue, there is a high temperature, Friedness revealed to the BBC, which gained rare access to this year's final committee meeting. But also, of course, we are civilized, and we try to make a consensus-based decision every year. Since Friedness assumed the chairmanship, the committee has awarded the prize to journalists Maria Ressa and Dmitry Muratov in 2021 for defending freedom of expression, Belarusian activist Alice Bialyatsky in 2022 for protecting fundamental rights, and Iran's Nargis Mohammadi in 2023 for her courageous fight for women's rights. Last year, the committee selected Japan's Nihon Hidankyo, an organization of survivors from the 1945 U.S. atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I grew up after the end of the Cold War, when democracy seemed unstoppable and nuclear disarmament realistic, Friedness explained when presenting that award. Controversies that have shadowed committee members. Tojay and Enger both served on the committee when Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed received the 2019 prize for ending the two-decade military standoff between Ethiopia and Eritrea. The decision looked questionable when Ethiopia launched a devastating offensive in Tigray in 2020. There are always some people who feel that this laureate was the wrong one. Tojay acknowledged at an International Peace Institute event that year, "Once the announcement has been made, we realize it lives its own life. If the Nobel Peace Prize didn't spark outrage and strong emotions, well, we wouldn't be living up to our reputation." In 2023, Indian media outlets reported that Tojai had endorsed India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi for the Nobel Peace Prize. However, boom, an Indian fact-checking organization thoroughly investigated and determined this claim was completely false. Tojai never made any such statement. Enger famously voted against Norway joining the European Union back in 1994, arguing that EU membership would erode Norway's traditions and democratic sovereignty. She's also championed anti-abortion campaigns throughout her career, though she hasn't succeeded in rolling back Norway's abortion rights. Meanwhile, Larsen faced accusations from the Norwegian Israel Center Against Anti-Semitism, NIS, in 2006. The organization sent a letter to then Foreign Minister Jonas Gahr Støre, claiming that Larsen, serving as his political advisor at the time, had demanded a full boycott of Israel. The letter stated she was appointed as political advisor despite her being responsible for anti-Israel activities. Whether Larsen ever responded to these allegations remains unclear. What do these judges actually think about Trump? Trump's obsession with winning the Nobel Peace Prize reportedly intensified after Barack Obama received it in 2009. Beyond repeatedly insisting he deserves this year's award for resolving 7 wars, now claiming 8 with Thursday's Gaza peace deal announcement, Trump has actively lobbied Norwegian diplomats, including former NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, who currently serves as Norway's finance minister. But Friednes insists the committee remains immune to such pressure and makes decisions independently. Every year, we receive thousands of letters, emails, requests, people saying, this is the one you should choose. So to have that campaign, the pressure isn't really something new, he told the BBC. While Friednes avoided directly mentioning Trump in that interview, he's previously criticized the U.S. president for undermining democratic nations. Enger has maintained complete silence regarding her Nobel Prize preferences. Larsen has publicly criticized Trump for slashing USAID funding and for his disrespectful language about women and human rights. Clement, as mentioned earlier, is clearly a Trump skeptic based on her May comments about him dismantling American democracy. Tojai presents the most ambiguous position. Despite attending Trump's inauguration and calling it a f***ing great party, and despite urging a more nuanced view of Trump and MAGA, there's no concrete indication he'd support Trump for the prize. He's also dismissed the effectiveness of lobbying campaigns. These types of influence campaigns have a rather more negative effect than a positive one, because we talk about it on the committee. Some candidates push for it really hard, and we do not like it. He told the national newspaper, "We are used to work in a locked room without being attempted to be influenced." Is this year particularly challenging for the committee? With ongoing wars, Democratic backsliding in multiple countries, and Trump's aggressive lobbying campaign, Friednes told the BBC that he and fellow members recognize the world is listening and the world is discussing, and discussing how we can achieve peace is a good thing. He added, and we have to stay strong and principled in our choices. That's our job. Within Norway itself, however, concerns are mounting about potential retaliation if Trump doesn't win. The U.S. has already imposed 15% tariffs on Norwegian exports. Last month, the Trump administration told CNBC it was very troubled after Norway's approximately $2 trillion sovereign wealth fund announced it would divest from U.S. company Caterpillar due to its connections to Israel's war on Gaza. In an October 3rd Bloomberg interview, Foreign Minister Espen Barth Eide clarified that Norway's government plays no role whatsoever in Nobel Peace Prize decisions. Who else might win? The committee received 338 nominations this year, 244 individuals, and 94 organizations. However, according to official rules, the committee does not confirm the names of nominees, neither to the media nor to the candidates themselves. There are cases where names of candidates appear in the media, either as a result of sheer speculation or because individuals themselves report to have nominated specific candidates. Sudan's emergency response rooms, a volunteer network assisting civilians in that war-ravaged nation, and Yulia Navalnaya, widow of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny, who died in a Russian prison last year, are considered strong contenders. Bookmakers like Ladbrokes currently list Trump and the Sudanese group as favorites. Nina Greger, director of the Peace Research Institute Oslo, shared her annual list of 5 potential candidates with Al Jazeera. My list this year includes Sudan's emergency response rooms, who are local Sudanese organizers who provide humanitarian support to communities affected by the war in the country. These voluntary groups have set up communal kitchens, supported evacuations, offered medical care, fixed infrastructure, and provided other services to communities, she explained. Greger emphasized that awarding the prize to a deserving humanitarian initiative like the emergency response rooms would highlight the critical importance of access to life-saving aid in times of conflict and the power of everyday citizens to serve humanity in difficult times. She also mentioned the Committee to Protect Journalists as a worthy potential recipient. At a time when the free press is under historic assault, awarding the Committee to Protect Journalists the Nobel Peace Prize would send a powerful message that peace and democracy are endangered if journalists are prevented from keeping the world informed, including from behind the front lines. So here's the question that's dividing opinions. Should Trump win the Nobel Peace Prize? Do his claims of ending multiple wars hold up to scrutiny? Or would awarding him the prize undermine the committee's credibility and Nobel's original vision? What do you think? Would this be a deserved recognition or a dangerous precedent? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and don't hold back.